On. Alex Camelio, how are you, my friend?
I am great. How are you doing?
Excellent, excellent. What's your whiteboard say? We made it.
We made it. I just moved. I don't know if you saw all the pictures that have been going around online, but I just moved into a new place. Moved in with my girlfriend and her daughter.
Nice.
So this is my new office space, and I literally just got unpacked beginning of this week. So I still have some lighting coming, as you can tell. I'm
Dark.
kind of terribly lit right here and got some backlighting going on,
Yeah.
but I got some new lighting coming. So that should be all
I want to just
settled.
turn the light on you
I
over
know,
there.
right? Right. I got in touch with a friend of mine who's a great photographer in Massachusetts, and
Yep.
he sort of gave me the lowdown on what to put in. I'm setting up, so I have kind of a double setup here. I got one camera in the corner on the bank of monitors, and then I'm going to do another one right here that's basically a straight on to the whiteboard.
Yep.
And then when I'm running like OBS or one of those, I can just switch over and just take it, let's go to the whiteboard and just, switch
Nice.
cameras and go, kind of a thing. So
Yeah, so right
yeah.
now, anybody who's just listening to the podcast, Alex is sitting in the dark, it looks like, but it's funny because I can see his background, I just can't see him. So
Oh my God,
anyway,
that's
Alex,
terrible.
what is it you do, brother? How'd you get involved in real estate?
Sure. So what I do is I run a community of agents all over the world, of real estate agents who basically are looking to help each other improve their businesses. And we do that in a lot of different ways. But the way I got into this is a kind of a long story. Funny, I feel like it's always interesting. I always ask the same sort of questions of all of my friends in real estate of how did you find yourself becoming a realtor? Like what, and it's always some amazing, backstory that they've accomplished all of this other incredible stuff in life and then decided that real estate was the thing they wanted to do. And that's where they're going. So it's always kind of interesting to see that pan out. And I sort of have a similar in that I started a tech company 10, almost 11 years ago.
Yeah.
It was right on sort of the cusp of mobile marketing when everything mobile and mobile technology was just really coming out. Apps were really fresh. No realtors' websites worked on mobile, right?
Yep.
Nobody's sites worked on smartphones. Everybody wanted apps. And we basically came in and said, hey, we can do this. We can supplement your web company. We can supplement your, app company or tech company, because we do these apps or we do other mobile marketing components where a lot of other tech companies hadn't really adapted yet.
Right.
So by simply picking up that piece, we got in. And then the next thing you know, it was like, hey, you guys do such a great job on that. Can you do this and this, and can you take over our full website, and can you run a CRM tool, and can you run all of these sorts of things for us? So we built that up over the years, serviced, it was like 29 states. We were in over 100 MLSs throughout the country, actually throughout USA and Canada. We helped Canada build their Korea DDF and do some of the tech for them.
Wow.
We've been kind of all over in that. And then ended up selling that business to Lone Wolf. Sold the business a little over about 4 years ago at this point. And and I'll add kind of one piece in there. So while I was doing this sort of tech company component, I hate to say it, but almost fell backwards into speaking at events.
Yep.
So just because you're in the industry, because I wanted to network, I started going to RE Barcamps. Are you familiar with the Barcamp model at all? All right. So
No.
RE Barcamps are this really sort of interesting model of conference where instead of it being a pre-planned, here are your speakers for the day kind of thing, instead everybody shows up in the morning. There's a whiteboard with a schedule, like an hour blocks. And everybody says, hey, either I want to learn this, or I think I can help people with this. And you start writing it on the whiteboard. And then you see there are a bunch of overlap between people. So you create those rooms, and then people go to those rooms, and essentially it's like a peer taught conversation where people are helping each other because they said they could, and other people are learning because they said they wanted to. And at any point, if you don't like the conversation in that room, you get up and you move to one of the other rooms.
Oh, wow.
And it rotates throughout the day into new categories and so on. But it's very much like everybody goes and tries to help one another.
Right.
So I went to a couple of those events, and the next thing I know, some folks from the Women's Council of Realtors were asking me to speak on mobile technology at one of their regional events. So I went and did that, happened to meet the national president of the Women's Council of Realtors, who said, "This is great. Would you come do this at national?" I said, "Of course I will." So we went down. It was actually, I believe, mid-year, and then Anaheim was the first NAR that we ended up going to. That was that event for WCR. Went out, spoke for them, and then the next thing you know, I've like spoken in 30 states and all over Canada, and for NAR, for pretty much every national association, all that sort of stuff. So do a lot of that as well. So beyond running this tech company, has sort of also been speaking, building course material, content material, a lot of that stuff for, gosh, over 10 years now. So,
Wow.
yeah, then sold the business, moved on from there. We ended up, after that, the former owner of Lone Wolf, he sold 80% of Lone Wolf. He did very well for himself.
Good for him.
Yes. But he approached me. What he said, he wanted to start another, because Lone Wolf was so brokerage focused, that he wanted to start a very agent focused community set of products, course material, basically really focus on the individual agent as opposed to the brokerage. Right. And he approached me and he said, "Do you want to be a partner and CEO?" I said, "Of course I do."
Yeah, sign me up. Yeah.
Sign me up. So we acquired Agent Inner Circle from a guy named Craig Fort. And this is where I think you might sort of make this connection. So Craig Fort was best friends with Dan Kennedy. Right? No BS marketing, ultimate sales, like the godfather of direct response is, I know you know, but for your audience, right? He's best friends, Craig Fort, best friends with Dan Kennedy and Craig Proctor.
Nice.
And a whole bunch of them. In fact, if you read through Dan Kennedy's Ultimate Sales Letter, in it, he talks about the guy that made all that money in real estate. That's Craig Fort. He actually mentions his name a couple of times. Nice. So Craig had an 8-figure commercial practice that he owns huge commercial buildings all over the country. And he took a bunch of those systems, built a huge community around it, and built it for years and sort of built this like $2 million side business. Right. And then he was getting toward the end of his career, looking to retire. Had sort of let his side business kind of go a little bit because he had focused on, his main, obviously his 8-figure business, right?
That's the squeeze,
Right. So we ended up acquiring it from him. I studied with him a good bit on his practices, went and did a lot of, mentoring and that sort of stuff with him. And then learned a ton about the direct response, the concept of building a community, how to really provide value. And that's where Agent Inner Circle comes in, which is Agent Inner Circle, the community I talked about, it's interesting. It's a little bit different in that first, it's a blog that's been going for over 20 years with weekly content. So there is a huge amount of content there to help realtors with their business. Second thing is it's 100% free. Nice. You don't even have to put in your email address to use it. Like, how often do you hear about that online?
Right. Yeah, I know.
Right. And then the third thing
even my
is,
site, I'm like, give me your name.
Give me your name, right? Give me your email, right? Then what we do is this. Our real differentiator and the core of why we're different from we'll call them the other blogs, the other real estate marketing sites and groups and so on of the world is you tend to hear a lot of, hey, here's a cool marketing idea. Now, good luck. Have fun. Right? That's like, we hear that all the time. Like nobody's really going like, here's an example of how to do it. And here's something you can go use. And that's really where we sort of stand out. That's our differentiator in that. I like to say but I'd say 3 out of 4 pieces that we put out have some template, download, takeaway, something you can actually go use today. I use the example of like, we write an article on how to write a great sales letter. We include a template sales letter.
Yep.
Or an article on how to do great Facebook ads. We include 3 Facebook ads you can go copy into your account from Hub today. Right. Like that sort of stuff where you're not left with this like, oh my God, what do I do? How do I, any of that? It's like, okay, I can have something I can actually start with and implement. And I think that little differentiator has made such a huge difference in terms of not just the ability to like have people come into the community, but truly engage. Like multiple comments on every blog we put out, like that sort of stuff where you know people are coming, reading the whole thing. The only thing we ask for email addresses is if you want to download that template or you want to download that resource, that's where we ask for your email address.
Right. And that makes sense. That at that point, you delivered so much value and you're saying, hey, look, here it is. If you want it, just give us a little something. I'll wait for us to follow up with you.
Exactly. I think one of the, I think you'll like this one, one of the best ones and most engaged with recently. We did an article on how to write great property descriptions.
Nice.
And it's all about the psychology of it, some examples, some all that. And then we do essentially a cheat sheet on how to brainstorm. Right. And it gives you all the questions to ask the seller to figure out those sort of pieces of info that you need. And then it gives you questions to ask yourself about the property, the area, so on. And then based on those 2 things, based on that cheat sheet, it becomes really easy to put together the whole property.
Here's the description now. Alex, exactly. I love all this. So I don't know, so how did you meet Mitch Durfee? You guys are friends?
So Mitch and I live close by to one another. Mitch and I spoke at the same conference in Burlington, Vermont.
No way.
Yep. So Mitch, and then we have a bunch of mutual friends beyond that. Turns out once we met each other, we realized that like we have, 15 like actual real world, know everyday kind of mutual friends. So it was, do you know Adam Hergenrother?
I don't personally, but I'm sure Mitch does.
Oh yeah. So Adam is a Keller Williams guy. And he has a huge brokerage in Vermont. He's one of the expansion guys, like the Keller Williams, expansion team guys that has like 10 or 12 different expansion teams across the country that he manages. He has a BlackRock construction. He has like that whole little empire in this area, right? All of that.
Realtors, construction team, management,
exactly, and different people running all the different divisions for him, and now here's the funny part. So Adam, his chief of staff, and I went to high school together.
Nice.
And his turns out his director of operations from Massachusetts is my cousin.
What a small world.
Small world, right?
Alex, I love it. I love it. Everybody's connected.
Absolutely.
So I got a question. So I'm looking to build 100 millionaires, right? So this is my mission, and that's likely why Mitch connected me with you. What would you say is the key to building wealth for somebody, for getting them to take that step, or how do we get in front of the people who actually want to become millionaires?
It's an interesting question. So I think there are 2 pieces. So if we're talking about this specifically inside of real estate, like you're a realtor, you want to focus on your real estate practice and you want to be a millionaire and make $1 million this year in real estate. Right. I think honestly, the number one thing, and it's funny, I get asked this question somewhat consistently of like, what's that one thing? And for me, it's always relationship building and sphere of influence. I did something on this recently, and it's something I do pretty consistently, but I think there's this misconception out there that to have a $1 million practice, you need thousands and thousands and thousands of contacts. And that's just not the case.
Right.
Like, if you know what you're doing and you work the right set of people and do it correctly and maximize the number of deals and referrals and so on that you're getting out of them, you don't need 10,000 leads to do that. Right? Like, well, I just did it the other day. It was 119 contacts is $100,000 in your pocket.
Right. 119 contacts, $100,000. Yeah, yep. I can see that.
And then it really, when you think about it, compounds. Because if you're doing your job correctly on a sphere of influence, the way your referrals and then the way that you're able to add, and this is something Anthony Mann and I have talked about a good bit, as a buddy of mine in Long Island, realtor there, that talk about the sort of how to turn one deal into six.
Yep.
You know, that whole concept. And I think really, again, that's done out of your sphere of influence. So for me, I always say that, you know, if you're looking to build that $1 million career within real estate, within your real estate practice, it is 100% focus on your sphere. Following up with them consistently, doing it in a number of different ways. Everything from, you know, text to monthly phone calls to, you know, all of those sorts of things.
Right.
Funny enough, though, and this is sort of weird coming from the tech guy that I am, right? Like I'm teach myself to code at 9 or 10.
Right.
But I'm also going to tell you that print mail works really, really well on sphere of influence.
Yep.
And not like, you know, not like basic mailers and not like just listed, just sold print. I'm talking like a handwritten card or a newsletter that has nothing to do about real estate, or things like that. And it's interestingly enough too. People sort of, I've sort of heard this misconception lately of folks going like, oh, that print or that whatever media might work. But it doesn't work on millennials, right? Or it doesn't work on whatever generation. So what we're actually finding is that it works better because it's such sort of a treat. Like, we're not used to getting mail. We've never really gotten a ton of personally addressed. Yeah. So when that happens, we're like, oh my God, this is special.
Like, this is different. I'm going to put this somewhere else.
Seriously. Exactly. And I always give people that example, and it's the same as to whether you're writing an email or you're writing, you know, a print letter or whatever it is. We sort over the trash. We sort our mail over the trash or the recycling or whatever it is. And in email, it's, you know, we're first thing we do is delete everything we can.
Yep.
And then we go through our mail. Same thing. We take the mail in from our, you know, our mailbox over the recycling bin, and then we get to it. It's like, you got to give people a reason, and something I always talk about, but it's like, why does it actually matter to them?
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing about working a sphere, and that people tend to miss, is that a sphere is about providing value to the other side. It has nothing to do with the value that you're going to get back.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, I love it, Alex. So I got to go back because you mentioned you sold a business, right? So you built a business. Was that always the intention of the business? And then at the end, you sold it. How did you negotiate that? Did you end up with just a lump sum? Did you keep some sort of part of the business?
So it's interesting you say that about, was that the plan? It was never the plan, but it was never not the plan.
It was never off the books.
Right? Yep. Because I got asked that question early on a lot, where you know, people would come in and go like, you know, what are you in this for? Are you in this to sell? Are you in this to do this forever? Like, what is your goal? And I always just looked at him. I was like, I don't have one way or the other. Like, I'm never going to say I want to do this forever and shut myself out from accepting a good deal or looking at something that might turn into a good deal.
Right.
So, you know, I'll be willing to put things on the table, but I also have a good understanding of what this is to me, what the value of this is, you know, what I'm willing to put on it. And something that actually, after we sold our company, that Lauren Wallace, who sold most of Lone Wolf, he imparted some wisdom on me, which was that you can't love your company. You can love your family. You can love your friends. I argue with him. I think you can love your pets. But I think he's actually come around to that, funny enough. but no, we talk about it in that you can't love your company. That at the end of the day, your company is there to, provide a good life for you and your family. That it's there to, and as much attachment as you might have, and as much as you might care about it, and believe in it and want to do everything you can to see it succeed, that, at the end of the day, your family comes first. There are other priorities in your life, and you can't love your company. And I think it's that same, he just said it very eloquently, and sort of that same mentality I had, which was like, I'm passionate about it, but there might be a number that's worth it. So how the negotiations came about, I can't go into way too much detail, but we picked up a pretty sizable client right in Lone Wolf's backyard. So I think that did part of it. We also had a few pieces of technology that were truly cutting edge. So like, for example, we were the very first company in real estate to do voice search ever, worldwide.
No kidding.
And actually the way we built it, we built a true natural language processor. So you could say like, I'm looking for a home in Burlington, under $200,000, 3 beds, 2 baths with a patio, a pool, and a garage. It would be able to figure all that out. And not only that, it would actually plug in all of the individual fields into the search results. So it's not like it would just open keyword search against everything. Like I said, it was a natural language processor that would fill in all the check boxes and all of that sort of stuff. We were first in the world on that. I think that was technology they were very interested in. We were also first in some of the SEO stuff. We were sort of very ahead of the game. We were one of the first to integrate a few different components, one of which is structured data, which you hear about all the time now. But when it first came out, and Google wasn't actually, when it first came out, Google put it in behind the scenes, but didn't really tell anybody about it until you started figuring it out. And then they released all the documentation. And then it was, in any event, we had figured out ways to so it actually all came out of voice. So we were able to take all of the data from the MLS data and then build a full sentence, build full paragraphs of content related to the data that we knew that we had, but it was all automated. And then we were able to use that to plug in specific sections to structured SEO, which was giving very specific components that had to be set up like that. And actually we did that first, and then we sort of reverse engineered that into what became voice. We realized that the coding was somewhat similar, and it worked.
It overlapped, and then you're able to tie it together.
Yep. So I think between those two things, between, picking up, we were growing somewhat rapidly. We were growing pretty well. We picked up a pretty big client right in their backyard, which I think was, which really got us noticed or got us under their eyeball. And then once they did, they kind of went, oh, wow, they got some, as a pretty small company, they got some stuff that we big guys aren't even close to. So, so in terms of your question about how we structured it, how all that sort of stuff worked, we took we sold all of it. Lone Wolf wasn't interested in doing any sort of part ownership deal or things like that. So we sold all of it, but we included 2-year for cause only contracts for our entire staff at Lone Wolf. And did very well for everybody on salaries, and everybody got raises and so on from what they were previously making under these new, for cause only, that sort of stuff. And then we had previously given, so I started it with one other person. That person sold the majority of his, actually ended up selling all of them to a few other, 2 other people. One main person, Warren Dow, and he and I really ran things together at that company. Warren and I both then sort of made sure each of our staff, we gifted very small percentages of company ownership to all of our staff at the end to make sure that they got some payouts
Something out of the
as
sale,
well. Something out of the sale directly beyond just the raises and guaranteed contract stuff.
Very cool.
So,
What was the full dollar amount at the end? What was the full price?
Sadly, I can't.
Yeah, no worries. All right, that's the exciting part, man. No worries.
Sadly, we're still under confidentiality at this point. So, I got.
We'll wait. So coming soon.
I got 3 more years on that. So we're three more years, and I can start talking about that.
Yeah, you know what? That's part of the so the fact there's confidentiality on the price of the sale is just one extra factor that you don't hear that too often in most industries. So I guess the tech industry makes sense.
So what it is this: as Lauren was buying us, Lauren was then looking to sell to Vista Equity at the same time.
Right.
All of this was happening like simultaneously.
So he didn't want to put out those prices as he's picking
up big company's secret for everybody. Because tech companies get multipliers, if you go out and purchase companies' revenue at below the multiplier that you're going to get, you make a bunch more money.
The spread. That's awesome. Yeah, Alex, I love it, man.
Yeah. So I love it. Well, now I want to know more about you. I know we've got your audience here who probably knows all about you, but Mitch just recently introduced us, and I did a little bit of internet sleuthing, but we don't call it stalking. Sleuthing, right?
Sleuthing is way nicer.
But honestly, I've been moving. I've been in the middle of a move and trying to settle in here and get everything set up. So I didn't get to do as much as I would like to. So how did you get into real estate?
So I got into real estate. I was broke and grew up in a poor city, poor family, poor mindset, and eventually just worked my way out of it. The grind, buying real estate. I did get my license as a realtor, and that kind of helped. So when you're talking about the real estate agency side, I totally get it. I remember the grind, not having a lot of the right tools, and then I just started buying real estate. Buy one a day, wrote the book, broke to $250,000 because that was cool, and essentially,
it's a good feeling, isn't it?
What is it? It's cool.
It's a good feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, being an author, like.
No, not being an author, being able to get to a milestone like that where you can like pause for a second and reflect, but then also give yourself the goals to move forward from there on that reflection. I feel like
there's still so much to do.
Yeah,
Alex, I love it, man. Like so far listening to you, it's a story of a guy who just loves what he was doing, getting into it, digging through, finding, okay, how can I get better? 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 Keep growing. And that's essentially what you did. And now at the end, and I tell everybody in real estate, right? So we build a business to sell the business because you can't take it with you. At some point, the business must be sold. So you always keep it saleable as you're building this thing. And I've always done the same thing with my portfolio, right? I've bought, I've sold, I've bought, I've sold. You buy a 3, you buy a 6, you buy a 10. Like you just keep.
So the only objection I get to that, but then this is what I tell people. The objection I get to that is about selling it is like, well, yeah, but I'll give it to my kids, right? I'm not going to sell it. But first of all, they don't want it, right? But second of all, what I always tell them is this. A transfer to your children will be so much easier if your business is in a position to sell. Because it's the same thing. The way you move assets, the way you it's almost no difference one to the other versus how much of a mess you leave it. That's really all it is. It's how much of a mess you leave it for the next person.
That's the truth. And you built the business. There's no saying the next person can maintain and grow it. You're better off transitioning that into stable assets and then letting them build their own business. If they build the same one or they go and they work for that same one, God bless them. The odds are slim to none, but I absolutely agree with you. And that is, that's one of the novel pieces of working in real estate is we'll work with these big investors and they're like, oh, I'm leaving it for my kids. Oh, cool. Do they want it?
Do they want it?
Do they want it? No,
but then you get into the like, which one wants it more? kind
And
of stuff. And
yes,
that's
yeah.
the worst. That's
Yep.
where stuff goes awry, you know?
Oh yeah.
Um,
And you got the kid
yeah.
who's living in the business, doing the
Hmm.
work, and the other one who wants it but never shows up. And
Right.
it's like, you know what?
Right.
Sell it, cut the business in half, give it to them, let them knock themselves out. Sell it to somebody who's looking to grow. Sell it to
Yeah.
somebody who's looking to take it to the next level. Yeah, Alex, no, I love it. So we built this training program based on real estate investing, right? So teaching realtors to work with investors as opposed to just working with normal clients. And I think you hit it when you said you could just work with 119 people to make $1 million. I have one buddy of mine who he owns well 12, 1,300 units,
Hmm.
and in one transaction he was looking to sell 400 units, and that's a commission. It was like a 300, 400, $600,000 commission, depending on what you split it up as. And it's like you could just know one person or two people and have massive, massive
Yep.
success if you're hanging out with the right people in the right industry. If you're hanging out with
Yep.
single family homeowners, it's really tough. You got to know a lot of those people. You're hanging out with investors, the
Yep.
market's open
Well,
for you.
and that's, I mean, case in point. So that friend of mine, Anthony Mann, who I was
Hmm.
just talking to you about, Anthony works with investors
Yeah.
on Long Island. That's
Yep.
his primary business.
Nice.
He has like 65 or 70 properties all over the country at this point. He's like, that's his focus.
Right.
And it's interesting because that 119 in the residential world is $100,000 income,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
In
you're right.
like
You're
you're
right.
saying, hanging out with sellers in the residential world
Yeah.
is 119 people is 100K. Anthony works probably less than 100 people as investors. And here's the other great part about it: it's all about the numbers. It's
Yep.
not emotional. Oh my God, like no. It's like, do the numbers make sense? Are they going to work
Yeah.
here? Okay, cool. Is the bank in? Like, is the bank in? Yeah. Okay, cool. Here we go.
Yep. That's it. There's three people to think about. You got, do the numbers make sense? Is the bank in? And is my property manager lined up? You get that done,
There
and
you
it's
go.
like plenty of deal labor, all set. The three pieces you need.
Yep. I
So,
just
Alex,
assumed
are
the
you
property manager's in place. My bad.
right? Right. Right. I hope so.
I feel like you should have the property manager in place before you check with the bank, but
Absolutely.
maybe that's just me. I don't know.
Well, sometimes we're getting a good deal because the property manager is so terrible that
Oh
it's,
yeah.
hey, trust me, I got mine. I'm plugging mine in. We're gonna get that one out, plug mine in, and that's all the bank needs to hear is that as long as you get rid of that guy or that girl.
Yep.
And you're right, Alex.
Makes
So
sense.
I got a question. Are you investing in real estate right now, or are you still focused on building this next company?
Bit of both. I've done some small pieces of investing. I've done it with friends who
Yep.
do that as their focus.
Right.
Mostly, so it's interesting you say this because when I said about the make $1 million and sphere of influence piece, you'll note that I said if you're doing it in real estate as a realtor within your real estate practice, right?
Right. Right.
What I would say to anybody else is multiple streams of income is really how you do it.
Yep.
So for me, it's there are a number of businesses, courses, licensing deals, etc., that I'm involved in. That I use my time and my skills with technology and operations in such a way that I'm able to get myself into, like, for example, I wrote the full day data security course for RRC CRS, and I have licensing money that comes in from every time that's taught.
A little
Right.
trickle coming in,
Little
Yep.
trickle. And
Yep.
that's really, and again, I do some real estate investing in some of that piece in what I do, but it's hardly a focus for me. For me,
Right.
I tend to, and all of the businesses I then try to build are ones where any one of them has the opportunity, every one of them makes me something. Any one of them has the opportunity to turn into that next big sale.
Right.
Right.
I
But I
love
have,
that.
but I have a unique skill set to be able to do that. Right. Like
Yeah.
this is 10, 11 years of having run businesses and having, I started coding when I was 10 years old. So like, 24 years of coding And that sort of stuff is like, I'm able to do that. I wouldn't tell everybody to go out there and be a serial entrepreneur. I think there are easier ways to do it. And I think, real estate investing is definitely one of them.
Yeah, I agree with you, Alex. You got a very unique skill set. And then on top of it, you've got the business skill set, which does take time to cull and create. And with real estate investing, it's a lot simpler, right? The numbers are just bigger. It's just like, you know what, you buy a couple of houses and hold on to them long enough, millionaire, right?
Yeah.
It's not a complex business.
Yeah. So I want to get your take on something.
Sure.
Because Anthony Mann and I both have the same principle and we both do the same thing. And I want to get your take on this, which is we both tend to live on the Cardone, buy where you rent where you live.
100%. Yep.
That's what I do. That's what he does. And I wanted to get your take on that. That's what you do?
I've always done the same thing. We have 50 units in this city and I live in a rental. So, and it's, you know what, because
I love it.
I have the freedom, man. I can go anytime I want.
Exactly. Well, and the other part to me is I grew up with parents who, my dad's a teacher, special needs teacher for 40 plus years. My mom's an artist. And they're both really into carpentry and rehabbing houses and so on. So I grew up in constant construction.
Yep.
The last thing I want is I know construction, I can do it. Last thing I want to do is maintain a house. Exactly.
It's so much
something goes wrong, I want to call and go like, hey, come fix this.
Yep. And it's great because the rental properties, they can justify paying somebody to do that. And they also justify the payment of my house. So it's like, hey, wherever I live in Florida tomorrow, Vegas the next day, but I know that I don't have to fix shit. Like we go to the rental depot, not Home Depot, right? Hey, exactly. There's a bunch of people sitting around saying, I don't got to fix a damn thing.
Yeah.
It's,
no, it's Mitch very true. It's he's so good.
Yep.
He's such a great comedian. He's so good.
I miss him.
Me too. I was just thinking that, like, oh man.
Yep.
That's funny. So obviously we have very much the same mentality here. I love it. Like Mitch, there's obviously a reason Mitch connected us, right? Man. I love that dude. So what do you and Mitch work on together? How do you guys know each other?
Excellent. So I started this mentorship, right? So it's for real estate investors. We call it the Alchemist mentorship program. We turn people into gold, deals into gold. And it's basically the concept of teaching real estate investors the faster way to get there, right? Just the faster way to get to the end by helping everybody. You make a little bit off of everything. You don't have to take all the deals, send the referrals to agents, just wholesaling to flipping to buy and hold to then carrying the note. Like the fastest way to possibly get to retirement. And I just teach the funnel. I'm the opening guy. I pull everybody in on the start, but then afterwards, I'm always looking for who can coach this person further, who can take them to the next level, who's got the training program that I can plug them into. Because I'm at the end of the day, I'm the bring them in, evaluate, put them in the right place. And so that's what we use Mitch for. He's very deep in the tech side of wholesaling, right? All the which program should they use? He's systemized. He's very good at system and automation. And so I rely on him pretty heavily for, okay, these guys are at that point. This is who they need. And Mitch takes them from that point forward and then passes them back to the group whenever they're ready for the next, is it mindset? Is it business? Is it strategy, right? Mm-hmm. So it's one of those pieces where he's just a phenomenal asset for us, helping our guys get to the next level.
That's awesome.
And Alex, sounds like you've got a lot of that going on. You've got a lot of agent education, investor education. So I'm definitely looking forward to plugging into some of the stuff you've got and just being like, hey, pass them along to Alex. This is where they belong right now to get to the next level.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate that. And, I think let's continue this. We'll continue this conversation, but I think there's some opportunities for us to talk a little bit more about maybe some content within Agent Inner Circle, maybe some, that email goes out to about 40,000 people. Page is 7,500 and group is 2,200.
And that's agentcircle.com.
Agent Inner Circle. Yep. Agentinnercircle.com. Yep. Nice.
I just jumped into the Facebook group.
I saw that. Thank you so much for hopping in. I appreciate you posting those interviews too. I caught that one. I caught part of that one from Massachusetts, and then I had to go handle something. But I have a bunch of people. There are a ton of Massachusetts people in our Facebook group that are super duper connected.
Huge,
so,
man. Alex,
yep.
you're doing what we want to do, right? You're building millionaires, even if you're not looking at it that way. You're building millionaires. You're giving people the opportunity, the tools, the education, the system, the network, and Lee and Mitch are on board with that, man. We want to help. We want to contribute to this because the way we see it, create abundance. The more people are wealthier, the less problems we have in the world.
Rising tide lifts all ships.
That's right, brother. That's right. Yep. So agentinnercircle.com, check it out. Alex Camelio is killing it, bringing value to everything he touches. Alex, thank you so much for your time today, man. I appreciate you, and I will reach out as soon as I find a way that I can add more value to your business and to your community. So thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you so much for the interview today. I appreciate it. Thank you to everybody in your community for taking the time to listen, and you have an amazing day.
You too, bro. Next time we're on, new lights.
I know. They're Monday. They're already ordered. They're arrive Monday. It's like it's already done. They'll be here. So next week you'll see me with beautiful. Yeah, we're good.
You'll be flashy, fresh. Congratulations on your move, Alex. Cheers to your success, man. I'll see you soon, brother.
Later. Thank you. You too.